Hi everybody, Kissy here for ThermOWeb, and today we're going to go through how to make those cards. Now these are 2 free digis and I'm giving you. They're in the blog post that corresponds to this video. So you can go ahead and do whatever you want with them. I kept them as is. I had one in the center and then one like in the lower right corner, a little small. And as you can see, I just covered them with some Deco foil. Remember, silver side down. Put it in parchment paper and ran it through my laminator. I did the same thing with the other one. They're both red. So when you're doing this, it has to be toner based in order for the Deco foil to adhere. Like here's an example. These are our pre-made card fronts. These are toner card fronts. There's 2 different ones I'm using, the Dainty Hearts and the Love Blooms, and I'm using pink melon and pink quartz for these 2 different cards. I'm making 2 cards at once. So if you do not have a laser printer at home that's toner based, you can always print it out on an inkjet printer and then take it somewhere and photocopy it, or you can probably go to like a local office place and they can print it for you, or if you have a local print shop that can do it for you. So just again, make sure it's toner based. So then once I adhered the foil to these little lips, I knew that I needed to add some extra stuff to it. The background was a little too harsh. So I decided to add a couple different pinks and just a portion of the stencil was used. I secured it down with my purple tape. And then you can see I'm just kind of going over it. The softer the better when you are using some of these stencils. Remember, you can always add more ink, but you can't take it away. So light-handed initially until you get the colors that you're looking for. So then I used those same colors and stamped them onto my glass mat off to the side, and then using a water brush, I just went and I flicked some water. And you don't need a water brush for this. You could definitely use a paintbrush with, like water or anything like that. You could also instead, if you have any glitter markers or anything like that or other mediums, you could try that as well. So I have done that in the past where instead of water I use a glitter marker and I just kind of squeeze that out. So don't be afraid to try different things and use different mediums. So this card is pretty much done. I had stamped the sentiment on there and then it secured it with 3D foam using the toner card front as my base. So that kind of like frames the actual card panel. So now my second one, the previous one, I did not put ink onto the card front. This time I am. So you can see I'm doing a couple different things here. Similar inks again. I'm keeping it all like pinks and reds and stuff like that, like some corals. And then I just kind of wanted to do half and half on this card. So you can see I'm just blending it all together. So what's really nice about when you have the foil on there is that it kind of, it won't let the ink adhere. So you'll have the ink on that background, but then wherever you foiled, it will not let that ink stay on there. So then you have that almost like it's embossed where the ink can't stay on there. So then I also did a little bit of water flicking because the ink that I was using is water reactive. And then I decided it just wasn't enough. So I added a little bit of paint. So it almost looks white, but it's actually a really, really light pink. And I just added a little water on there. And then you can see with a brush and some water, I just flicked paint on there as well. So that way I have kind of like the ink washing away from the water flicking, but then I have that extra detail of the actual acrylic paint on there. So that's kind of cool. And then I cut out the lips, I fussy cut them, and I felt like they were just a little too harsh because I had printed them on white cardstock. So I just added a little ink to that as well. So the background kind of matched. That way it wasn't just like in your face, white lips with the red at you. It kind of blended in with the card a little bit. So then to do the sentiment, I decided I was going to heat emboss. So I used my Misty stamping tool, and you can see that I did use a little bit of powder. That's just for the static. So because I was using white embossing powder on black, sometimes the white is really obvious if you have extra little pieces or flakes on there. And you can pick them off with things, but I've just found that if I use the powder, then that way I don't really have very many extra pieces, that the powder just really adheres to what I stamped, and I used watermark ink. And I did for this one have to add the powder a couple times just because it wasn't quite sticking right away, but then you can see. And then this is how I, even when I keep some of my embossing powders in their original canisters, I use a coffee filter and then I can just dump it right back into the canister, because if not, I'm kind of a klutz and I spill it everywhere. So I adhered everything using the 3D foam squares for that base, and then just my XL tape runner for everything else. I felt like The lips, I did use the 3D foam. I wanted those to pop up a little bit, but I feel like the sentiments, I didn't really want those to pop up as much. So you can see I used my runner for that, and then for the lips I just used a little bit of the foam, just so that being that it's popped up, it's a little bit more in your face. So that's completed. These are both of the cards, so totally different, but at the same time similar images. So go ahead and feel free to download those digis. These are both of them again. We would love to see what you create, so use hashtag DecoFoil and hashtag ThermOWeb so we can find you out in the blog and social media world. Have a great day.